Hello and welcome to vKind Connects. I am Chef Josie and I am so happy to be here with Chef Chu today. Say hello, Chef Chu.
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to be here with you guys.
Thanks for being on with us. I'm so excited to learn more about your products. I think it's really cool that I've actually never met you before and I've never tried your product before. So I have so many questions for you about what it is, about your background as a chef, whether or not you're vegan. I need to know your origin story as a chef and both as a vegan, both as a chef and as a vegan.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm happy to share. So definitely, got a great story about my personal journey. So that'll be awesome.
All right. Well, when did you first start cooking? And were you vegan when you first started cooking?
Well, the answer to that is absolutely no. I was not vegan when I first started cooking. I'm actually a country
Absolutely
boy.
no.
Yeah, absolutely no. I grew up in the South, pretty much the top of the South in Maryland, and we call it Southern Maryland. So it was a country town, a little small town. My family, I literally, my father was a sharecropper growing up, and so he actually came from a very difficult background. But they ate from the land, and so when I said we ate real country, I mean soul food. Everything from fried chicken to ribs to pork chops to ham. Even ate squirrel. I always teach people. I said I missed possum by 10 years, and I thank
A
God for that. So,
squirrel.
yeah, oh yeah, squirrel was normal. So that was nothing different. Like my father sat in the window and shot squirrels out the window. So that's how
Oh my
country.
gosh, that's country for real.
So that was real country. So what's interesting though, my mother's side of the family though was Seventh Adventist, and many of them were vegetarians. So my mother was actually raised in a vegetarian household, and so she actually got exposed to literally in the '60s and the '70s eating vegetarian. So I literally was as a child, my uncles and my aunts, I would go to church with them, and they would have the dinner, or they call it potluck, and I got exposed to vegetarianism in my like when I was like 8, 9 years old. And so, pretty much most of my childhood and the experiences was pretty much meat centered. But on weekends, when I would go to church with my family, I got exposed to vegetarianism. And it was crazy. I ended up, when I graduated high school, I became a vegan, 100% vegan, like literally in 2001. So I literally became a vegan 20 years ago, almost 21 years now. And
Wow.
prior to that, my home I always thought with my culture. So like for me, family was obviously super important, but food was at the center of our family. So like our holidays, everybody had their favorite dish, mac and cheese and whatever their chicken or their special sweet potatoes or sweet potato pie or potato salad. So food was like our culture. It was a part of who we were. It was our identity. And so, we took a lot of pride in what we ate. And beyond that, my parents, they took me into the kitchen when I was like probably in my 8, 9 years old, and so by the time I was 12, I was frying chicken and making dishes and had my recipes.
Oh,
So I
dang,
started
young chef.
really, really early in my, I started cooking at a very young age, and had this passion. My parents really had, like, they always had their special dishes. My mother had her famous sweet potato pie, her famous mac and cheese. My father would do these awesome cakes and these really unique kind of dishes and stuff. So food was like, again, it's a really big part of our life, big part of our culture. And it became our identity, honestly. It was a really big part of that. So, yeah.
Wow, what an interesting like melting pot situation. Like highly carnivorous on one side, and then you have the Seventh-day Adventist
Yeah.
vegetarians on the other. I lived in Loma Linda, so that's when I learned about Seventh-day Adventists. I was
There
like,
you
why is everyone vegetarian here?
go. Yeah,
Like literally everyone. So that's really cool. What was
absolutely.
what was your favorite vegetarian dish that you grew up with as a kid?
Oh man, so like again, Loma Linda had the actual Loma Linda hot dogs and all that type of stuff. So like the Seventh Adventist community had these iconic like something called scallops. So these canned veggie meats, and so we had a product called scallops, which still exists, and they were pretty much like these chicken nugget type product. And they would batter it and bread it and fry it up, and so that was one of my favorite dishes. We had an iconic meal most well known within the Seventh Adventist Church is simply a taco salad, but we call it haystacks. And so that was like a famous dish. If you ever go to church with anybody in our community, a famous dish would be a taco salad. What we would do is like chips and corn chips, and then you have all your cheeses and your tomatoes and your lettuces and all the toppings, sour cream and cheese and the beans. And that's like you load the plate up like 10 feet high. And so that was a really big iconic dish for us growing up as well. Another one was called Special K. I don't know, Special K loaf. That was a really like old school recipe. They would take Special K, the cereal, and make like a meatloaf with it. And that was a really, really
Wait,
interesting. Yeah,
I'm sorry, come again? What?
Yeah, Special K cereal, right? The Special K cereal. And they would take that and like literally turn it into like a meatloaf. And so it was like they used that as a kind of a starter for a meatloaf, believe it or not. What? And they made this, we called it a Special K loaf. Yeah, it's tons of recipes. Like you gotta, think about it. Like our church, started doing vegetarianism in the late 1800s. And so they literally have recipes, like old school recipes that like our grandmothers were making like wheat gluten and making their own gluten from scratch, like literally taking flour and rinsing it and making gluten, like all that type of stuff. So there's like a lot of old school recipes within our church, believe it or not. So I had a lot of good, like they made vegetarian food taste good. Because again, you had people that were literally coming off of eating fried chicken and a lot of meats and going vegetarian, but they added that flavor into it. And so that was kind of the really cool thing. My vegetarian experience wasn't, even though before like this craze that we have right now, I still had a very flavorful, like tasty, vegetarian experience. But some of the products, some of that stuff, man, it tastes like dog food. Some of that stuff was horrible. I couldn't do it. It was just the most worst. So you had to really jazz it up to get flavor into it. But like it in and of itself, by itself, it was like the worst stuff in the world. I'll tell you, I had, it was like the worst. So anyway, yeah.
I know stuff that comes out of a can is really terrible. It just provides texture with no benefit aside from that.
No, it's just totally like super high in sodium. Texture's horrible. And so, but it was a transition nonetheless, for people back then, and it kind of served a great purpose at the time. So, yeah.
Well, the inspiration for your product and your brand and your identity as a chef couldn't be more clear after hearing that story. What was it that kind of brought you to like being like, what punched you in the face where you were like, I'm just going to go full vegan?
Yeah, so obviously, as I shared I got exposed to vegetarianism at a young age. That kind of grew more and more. As I got a little older. When I turned 18, 19, obviously, most young adults at that time are searching for identity. So for me, I went through a spiritual transformation personally. So my faith perspective, being Seventh Adventist at the time, I became a Seventh Adventist. I was around it, but I actually personally became a Seventh Adventist and learned about Loma Linda and learned about, people like John Harvey Kellogg, like these, influential Seventh Adventist food manufacturers. And so I got super excited about food. Also, the other flip side, I saw the realities of in the Black community, especially, we had very high rates of disease in our communities. And so many of my family members at a very young age, in their late 40s, early 50s, begin to have lifestyle related diseases that were kind of like, well, I got diabetes, no big deal. I got high blood pressure, but they became lethal with a few of my family members. And within a 10-year period, I began to see this literally a death like coming into our family, this one after the other. And it was cancers. It was, heart disease related. There's different things that just cause death. And so all of that combined in connection with my faith perspective, and just all of that really kind of led me like, hey, I want to go vegan. But again, it's 2001. What's vegan in 2001? Vegetarian is popular, is kind of well known. 1% of the population is vegetarian, but veganism was like, that was a whole other level. So even like growing up, most people in our church, they would do like cheese and all kind of like a lot of stuff that had a lot of cheeses and butter and milk and all that kind of stuff. So, even eat eggs, but going totally plant-based, 100% vegan, that was unheard of almost. And so I was more of a pioneer, like taking like recipes and even having to go a step further and not using cheese was like a big thing, And
Dude,
so,
yeah, you're the innovator at that point.
Exactly. And for me, it became like, I knew what like, all like meat tasted like, because I grew up eating it. I knew what, again, good mac and cheese tasted like, because I grew up eating all of that. And so I wanted to personally replicate what I grew up eating. And so that was really the vision. How can I experience the same flavors, the same textures, and the same goodness and deliciousness that I grew up, but veganize it? And so that became really like the passion, the hobby, the beginning of like Chef Chew, if you want to call it. That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Let's go. I'm such a fan of recreating the nostalgic foods. That way people still feel like heart happy and not like, yeah, I'm going to be vegan and eat a frickin' salad.
Exactly. And that was it. I mean, I can only tell you the story of my father, who was still not nowhere near vegan or vegetarian. I would come to Thanksgiving and like, what can I eat? It's like, they would tease me, like they'd call me names and like, you eat your vegan food, then they kind of think you think you're better than me and all this, all that kind of stuff. And so I dealt with all of that, so it was kind of fun. But
relatable.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, so tell me about the first Better Chew product that you ever made, and also tell me about your product line. Like, what is available for the people?
Absolutely. So, it's kind of behind me. I have my fried chicken. So this is the first thing I wanted to do. Like when I became a vegan, like how can I make a vegan fried chicken? So this is our product today. It's called Better Chew. It wasn't called Better Chew back then, 20 years ago. I called it Better Than Meat at the time. And I had the Better Than Meat chicken, but I actually took some really amazing formulas, and I was literally just taking different grains and beans. So I was taking potatoes and soybeans and just different things and combining them, making formulas and so forth. And, I just learned how to just think outside the box. I was the kind of person just when I first started, I didn't get culinary trained. It wasn't a rule book for me. So I'm like, I'm going vegan. It's like, there's not a lot of good stuff out here. So I'm literally just kind of thinking about like, how can I take these different ingredients and kind of get them more meat-like? And after literally, so starting out, that first, iteration was like this chicken nugget. I took an oat burger recipe and I turned it into, rather than making a patty, I turned it into a chicken leg.
Okay.
Into a chicken leg. I was like, well, I got a patty. I could turn it into a meatball. I could turn it into a patty. Let's turn it into a chicken leg. And like, when I did that, my brain just like everything clicked in my brain. I'm like, I can make a chicken. I can make a chicken. And so like, and then it became this obsession. Like, how can I make it more meaty? How can I make it like, pull apart, and so forth. And literally
he's inspired.
Yeah, I was inspired. That was like the moment. I'm in the kitchen, like making oat burgers and like just turn it into, rather than making a patty, let's turn it into a chicken wing. And that began the process of like that, and so I started, again, taking all types of grains, types of beans, taking different flours and just starting to learn just the science of, like plant-based meats, reading books and really kind of going through this, a lot of education on my own personal, like more self-taught and experimentation. And literally over a 7-8 year period, I created my own texturization technique that creates like a horizontal substrate of protein. So it's really unique. It's kind of crazy. It's a lot of science behind it, but I literally take soybeans and I go through like an 8-step process and I can create like almost like a slab of meat. So it's kind of dope. So like I literally created from scratch from soybeans all the way from we take the soybeans, turn it into a milk, and we literally go into a meat-like texture. So it's pretty dope.
All I'm picturing is you in front of a whiteboard, like mad scientisting it out, and then, like heading to the kitchen, like all fueled on like caffeine and like creativity and just like experimenting.
It was very much late nights, a lot of experimentation, a lot of this. I mean, there's tons and tons of just recipes and formulas and so forth. And it was literally a 7-year period. It wasn't like I did it one day and then like like this 1 year was like over iterations. And then finally I went into, when I got my first formulation kind of perfected, I started my first restaurant in 2008. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I kind of turned into more of a, where I was doing like small stuff, selling to like friends and family and things of that nature. I ended up graduating into wanting to start my first restaurant. So I started my first vegan restaurant in 2008 in a little small town where I grew up at, which was the craziest thing ever, in my meat and potato town in Southern Maryland. The first vegan and last vegan restaurant to ever exist in Calvert County. Literally, this is a meat and potato town. They thought I was crazy. And I started a vegan restaurant there. So that was the craziest thing ever. So,
That is legendary. What's the name of the restaurant?
well, it's not there anymore. This is 2008. So this is literally, 12 years ago, 14 years ago. So it's called Eating to Live at the time.
Okay.
So it's called Eating to Live. And what I ended up doing is over a 10-year period, I had 3 vegan restaurants, one in Maryland, one in Arkansas, then one in Oakland. I pretty much perfected the meats through those iterations of restaurants. And so the restaurant became like my lab or my experimentation lab. And I was able to get real feedback from people, and just started developing, and just improving on the textures. So out of that first fried chicken, next thing you know, I got a shredded steak, I got a shredded chicken, I got a fish, I got a crab cake, I got meatballs. And so I just started developing this different formulas and really getting it dialed in, and not really understanding what I was preparing for. But eventually, again, after 10 years in the restaurant industry, I ended up creating the Better Chew brand, as being this brand that I'm now going to launch into grocery stores. And so that's kind of what it all kind of came down to. In 2017, again, after starting a restaurant in Oakland called the Veg Hub, I ended up, again, creating the Better Chew brand, kind of rebranding the business and incorporated, obviously at that point, 2016, 2017, the plant-based space, vegan spaces went crazy. Vegan restaurants all over the country is popping up. Documentaries are coming out. Beyond and Impossible are just raising billions of dollars. All this craziness is happening, and startups are coming like the Wild Wild West. And so I was like, I've been in this for like my life work, and it was like, let's jump into it. And so we formulated the company, and got my team built, got our first manufacturing facility, and started producing the product, and now I'm going from being more of a restaurateur to now a manufacturer, which is very different, manufacturing, and even being a certain type of chefs. I mean, fine dining to fast casual is very different in the skill set. And so, going from more of a fast casual kind of street food kind of chef, now I'm going into, taking all the inventions and the developments into more of a manufacturing process. Which was a very different skill set, scaling, getting big pieces of equipment, it's more about efficiencies and it's more like you're doing the same thing, repetitive processes every single day and, cost controls and all of that. So that became a new world that I had to learn. And I've been in that world for literally 4 years now. And I've been building this business, one shoe at a time, I like to say. Yeah, at a time.
So much.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you have the shredded steak, you have the fish products, you have fried chicken. What else do you have behind you?
Yeah, I don't have all the products here, but we have a shredded chicken. So we have a shredded chicken product, which is phenomenal. That's one thing about our products, our shredded products that we have, our shredded steak and shredded chicken. So like these products are phenomenal. You can actually order them at eatbetterchew.com, eatbetterchew.com. We ship nationwide. But they actually go very well in, obviously stir fries, everything from tacos to quesadillas to Asian food, but it holds well in broths, which I really love. So it soaks up flavors. So a lot of products disintegrate when it comes into any kind of like liquid. These products, you can make the best, pho, any kind of noodle soups, any kind of like traditional, like, sole. So like, you can go any direction when it comes to this product, and it takes on the flavor and it doesn't break down. So it's, as a chef, that's a really powerful,
That's a game changer.
Absolutely. And it's shredded. So it's not like a crumble, like most of the industry is utilizing, more products that are more crumbles, when it comes to beef, that's product is more of a shred. So it really has that tear apart in your mouth. We make a rib too, a vegan rib, which is like insane. So it's literally like a nice thick piece of rib, and it's layers. It peels on itself, and it literally kind of peels in your mouth, and it's phenomenal. Like it's just dynamite, literally.
Okay, so with basically every fast food franchise now purchasing in bulk, nationwide, worldwide, Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger, where do you see your product landing?
Yeah, we were voted. Veg Out Magazine voted us the best vegan fried chicken. Like right now, that's pretty amazing feat given from Veg Out. So that was pretty dope. That came out this month in February, and what we really are excited about is that we feel like, again, our texture is very different than our competitors. Most of the competitors have, we make, again, this horizontal substrate protein, which is very different than most of the products. They use a process called extrusion, which makes a more compacted kind of vertical kind of strain of protein. So long story short, we feel like we can be one of the leading companies when it comes to a fried chicken, offering. There are definitely fried chickens in the market, but we feel like we have one of the best. And then the shredded products, the shredded chicken, the shredded steak, there's nothing like it. It's not hard. It's hard to find a product that's truly giving you a Philly cheesesteak or a true carne asada, without kind of having like more of a crumble, beef. And so, from a food service and the restaurants, we're finally at a place of scaling our brand. We're scaling in grocery stores. We sell to about 100 Whole Foods currently. And so we're a bunch of grocery stores in the California, and we're literally expanding right now across the West Coast. And I'm hoping to go nationwide within the next year or so.
Wow, congratulations. Congratulations on all the success in the journey. And I'm on your ship. I'm sold. I haven't even tried your products yet, but I'm tight with Maggie from Veg Out. So if she voted that you have the best fried chicken, I believe her, because that woman has tried all the vegan fried chicken. She's tried all of it.
Exactly. Well, Maggie gave us a vote. That was her. So Maggie said, "Hey, this is it," and she said, "Hands down, this is the best we've ever tasted." So yeah, so we got the vouch from them, and we feel like most of our customers, when they try it, they just like, I don't know what you guys are doing. I remember we had our restaurant, somebody called it vegan crack. It was like the craziest analogy. Like, it was like, hold up, that's a little sensitive, but we got the point. It was like, so it was just like interesting. Like, the stuff is addictive. I mean, people get it, and it becomes a household, like a part of your lifestyle. It's a lifestyle brand because and one thing we dialed in, we wanted to have good sodium levels. So we really wanted to dial our sodium levels in. So we were in that 20% range, per serving when it comes to sodium. So we wanted to have a great product that has a lot of applications. We like to say it makes the home chef fearless. So there's a vegan type of, ethnic dish or traditional dish that you want to veganize. Our product is 1 for 1. You can literally take the product. It cooks in minutes. I mean, the fried chicken, air fryer, you can add any sauce combination you want with it. The shredded chicken is 1 for shredded chicken, shredded steak, 1 for 1 for anything calling for a chicken breast or like a shredded beef. I mean, it's 1 for 1 all day long. It's like that simple, like literally.
That is so fantastic, because I notice, and I'm sure even in your origin story, you were explaining it, once you go vegan, you're kind of separating from your communities and your culture and the very food that like built you, and
Yes.
that bonded you with your family, that bonded you with your church, with your friends, with your family, with your school. So the fact that you're developing a product that still can like keep those ties together, but without any cruelty, that's such a huge, huge deal. So thank you so much for providing that to the world, to the vegan community, to everyone.
Hey, that is what it's all about. I mean, that's, like I said, food is, like you said, it's a great equalizer of humanity. It puts us in a place where we can, just have conversation. We can really be collective and really enjoy the creativity that we bring. And like you said, being able to have, a food that can, a vegan product that can replicate some of those iconic dishes, it only kind of brings the vegan community, it connects us with our family that might not be that way. And that's important because, again, we all want that sense of connection and community, and food is probably one of the most powerful tools that does that. And so this product is something that, people introduce to their family. They want to say, hey, I got this family member. I'm want to have them taste the vegan product or vegan chicken. They a lot of times they use our product as that catalyst. So that's the goal that we're trying to accomplish. And, and one of the last things I will say, is that we had our mission as a company long-term is to democratize access. What we realized, and especially in minority communities that have the highest rates of disease, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, they also have the least amount of access. And so one of the things that we really, really are looking to do as we build our company is to be able to pass on a price point that's going to be affordable to our customer base. And that takes a lot. It's not an easy thing to accomplish because, again, we don't control the grocery chains and how they sell and so forth. But what we can do is manufacture our product efficiently We're launching a new brick and mortar model in the future, which will be, an affordable kind of restaurant concept where we also will sell the proteins to the community. So that's kind of our a big part of our business model to really democratize access. And so, for us, it's a life work. It's a 50-year plan. It's not tomorrow I'm done in 5 years. We want to be a catalyst in the beginning, a starter. And hopefully within 50 years, my kids, I'll be maybe 90 years old at that point. My kids are kind of in their 50s. They're taking this thing to the next level, and the world will be it's normal at that point. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands, if not millions at that point, vegan products on the market at that point. So that's we want to be a part of that story, that reality. So yeah.
That is a beautiful garden that you're tending to, and I know that all of that is going to happen. I feel as though it's already written. It's already happening. You're already committed. You're already taking the action. So I can't wait to see it grow. And I cannot wait to see your product in major franchises. And it's going to be so accessible to everybody. I mean, I think you really hit the nail on the head. That is probably one of the biggest factors that's going to help people determine whether or not they're going to choose a vegan product or not.
Yes.
So
exactly.
This is immense work that you're doing, and congratulations. I'll be following your brand and you very closely, and we're going to have some chats after this interview and figure out how to drum some cool stuff up together.
I love it. But hey, I'm thankful for the opportunity to share, and so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, and I hope to talk to you again so soon.
Yeah, absolutely. As I like to say, my name is Chef Chew, and as I always say, going to give you something to chew on.
Let's go. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Chef Chew.
In a world where cruelty is the main entree, vKind Studios is serving up a new kind of culinary challenge. In each episode of Peeled, contestants face off to be named hottest vegan chef or get peeled into the compost. Tune in summer of 2022 as we cook up compassion. This season, color is in and cruelty is out. No plants felt pain in the making of this video.